Hello everyone, it is Justice, and today I'm doing something that is a little bit wild for me. It's been a while. I'm going to be sharing with you the last 6 months of my life. This is a January through June flip through of my Hobonichi cousin Avec planner, and I want to establish a few things first before we jump into it. To establish the purpose of my planner in my head, there are 4 main points. Everyone uses a planner a little bit different, and so I kind of want to tell you what I do with my planner before we get into the video so that you can know if you're interested in continuing to watch or not. The first purpose of my planner is to act as a single, consolidated place to catch my plans, my intentions, my ideas, and my appointments. Essentially, keep my focus where I need it to be because I'm really forgetful, and if I don't write it down, I just forget what I want to do. So it acts as my catch-all. Number 2, accurately document where I am in my life. I think it's important to document slices of daily life. One, because I just think that archiving and keeping accurate record is really important. That's kind of part of my quirks and my silliness. But also it's important because it can help you go back and recontextualize things if you didn't see the whole picture at the time or if you were kind of stuck. It helps me go back and be like, oh my gosh, well, no wonder XYZ is happening. Number 3, to keep an eye out for cool things that I don't want to forget every day. You have to find the silver lining. So you'll see in a lot of my planner, you'll see lots of colors, you'll see some fun things thrown around, and that's because 1, I find it nicer to look at something pretty to just make me happy and more willing to go in. But also 2, it helps me look throughout the day to find something happy. And that kind of goes very far from mental health and where you are in a day. And number 4, I use it to work through my problems. My planner is my workbook. You'll see a lot of scribbling and scratching through here. There's a lot of pages that are left blank or incomplete. This is not for perfection. This is not archival. This is just to be functional. This book is my control panel. This is my guide through the day. If this were Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, if it's don't forget your towel, it's don't forget your planner. And to establish a little bit more, some things about me, because I like to know a little bit about people before I get into their books and be nosy. I am a 28-year-old woman. I am married. I have a dog and 2 cats with my husband. We're in Florida. I work as a planner, literally a planner. And I help my husband out with content creation. He's a Twitch streamer for the game Dead by Daylight. And we kind of just do that. I really like to bake. I do freelance baking in my free time. And other than that, I just really like stationery. I like fountain pens, I like stamps, I like ink, I like stickers, I like all of it, girl. And some things that you'll see me working through. You'll see me work through a little bit of my workday, but I do have a work planner separately. I'm really forgetful, so I'll put in all kinds of little reminders that don't super make sense. Like you'll see places where I'm like, oh, I gave the cats a shot, or I did nails this day, or I took out the trash this day, and you won't see it written again for forever. And it's not because it didn't happen, but it's because that day I really needed to remind myself to make it happen because I got out of the habit. So you'll see stuff like that pop up a lot, like, girl, you can't remember to brush your teeth. Not that day, I didn't. Anyways, to functionally get back into talking about my planner, we've already gone through the months, and with the months, it's very self-explanatory. I do use the monthly view a lot to do a bird's eye plan, but not everything actually ends up being followed up with, So my monthly is very much for future planning, and then once we're in my weekly, it goes into my current planning. In a lot of my pages, you'll see a recurring color code, and for the most part, a lot of the same things will follow this color code, but you'll see random things thrown in that don't necessarily match it just because I need a different color on the page to help it stand out. But the blue highlights are going to be my personal life. I really tried to use that for either me and Danny time or home chores and things like that, taking care of the house. Green is for workout and for payday. Green is one of my favorite colors, and I think it's a very auspicious color for me, even though I know it's not traditionally one. I think it's a lucky color for me. And so for my health and for my fitness, it is green. Pink is for just me. This is justice time, just a justice task. If it's purple, it's for content creation. If it's yellow, it's kind of just like a highlight, not really any type of category, but like, hey girl, you need to know this. Unless it's on a daily page, in which case yellow is always going to be my meals. It could also be a highlight just randomly, but yellow is my meals for my daily pages. On a lot of these pages as well, you'll see that I use brush writing, and it kind of stops about halfway through. I use a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen for a lot of my brush writing, and it is my favorite. I can't tell you how many I've gone through over the years. I ran out again, and they're kind of expensive, so I can't afford to just have them all the time. And so I am waiting until I feel like it's reasonable for me to buy another pack. I also, with this book, something that I allowed myself to do with this book that I haven't necessarily done in years past is to allow myself to be imperfect. And part of that is to kind of let myself let go of some of my little OCD habits. And I don't mean that lightly, so if you're new to the channel, do know that I do have actual diagnosed OCD, and I'm not making fun of people. I used to try and have like entire notebooks with the same pen if I could, and I would get so frustrated if I would change color inks or change the pen or something like that, and it would really take up a lot of my mental. And that sounds really stupid, like what loser behavior to like be thinking about what ink you're using in your book all day, but it really did impact me. But something that I wanted to purposefully do with this is to break my rule, and my rule was kind of fountain pens. Not necessarily the color of ink was my recent problem, because I have been slowly working on this over the years, but fountain pens. I wanted to use other things than fountain pen in this, and so I used the Hobonichi click pen with the multiple colors, and I used gel pens, and I used my fountain pens, but I would use all kinds of different pens, and you'll notice that in here. I'm using different colors, different thickness, and I'm just trying out new things, new layouts, whatever. And that's on purpose, to force myself to let myself get creative, because I think that something that a lot of us do, that I especially notice in myself, is getting afraid to try new things because I get way too locked up in the thought of imperfection and the chance of failing. But I just keep needing to remind myself that you can't move anywhere, can't do anything without the chance of failing. And who cares if you fail? Everyone fails a little bit. You just gotta start up again. So I wanted this book to purposefully be a little bit jacked up in my mind, you know? So I'll be writing vertical, horizontal, diagonal, leave stuff, and that's fine. I'm purposefully doing that. In each daily spread, you'll notice I kind of split it up in the same general type of way. I don't stay consistent all the time, but on the left-hand side, I keep it as my daily timeline. Sometimes I fill it in more detailed than others. And then to the right of that is going to start off as like my to-do lists. But I start off doing a more horizontal orientation, and as time goes on, it switches to a vertical orientation. I think that having my task lists in a vertical orientation is much more helpful to my brain to stay on track. Because if I don't finish my top list in a horizontal format, then I'll never get to my bottom list, even if they are categorically different. So I kind of fool myself on that, if that makes sense. Going through these pages is really hard for me, I'll be so honest. I love keeping my journals, but I kind of let them sit in a box in my closet for a few years before I go back in on them, because I'm someone who's really hard on myself. I want to write things down because I think it's important to go back and talk with myself, but it's really hard for me to want to process at the time. But yeah, it's kind of hard for me to process things as they come, so I tend to have to go back and do things a little bit later. And that's fine, as long as it happens, you know? I really like to do a lot of colors and a lot of ink and a lot of stamps. I tried really hard to fill in empty space with sketches as I had time or little stamps as I had time, because I think it's important to create. This year especially, I have just come to the realization that as a creative, if you go an extended period of time without making things, you just get lost. And I don't think that's like a pretentious thing, like, oh, an artist must make art. I think that's kind of like an artists are the type of person that they are, and they create art in order to process. If you don't create, then you don't process. And so these past few years have been rough, let me tell you. It's been a while since I've done an update, so let's go ahead and get into it. Over the past year, I've done transcranial micro something therapy, TMS therapy. I'll go ahead and put a happy little text right here to help you. But that really helped me start a lot of what's going on right now. I had to do a therapy on my brain to help reactivate the brain pathways that went dark and in my prefrontal cortex. That did a lot. It kind of did trial by fire in terms of helping me, and it was incredibly helpful, let me tell you. So if you are someone who has had treatment-resistant depression and you have CPTSD, OCD, any and all of the above addiction issues, it is incredibly helpful to hard-to-treat things. So my depression hadn't really been helped by a lot of other types of treatment, so I went to that one, and it was so effective, dude. It's, of course, not 100%, so I'm still kind of working with things as we go, trying to figure it out, but it has been incredibly helpful to help me get there, you know? But with that, I started working out too, because may as well tack it in a multi-pronged facet, work with the body, work with the mind. For every pound overweight that you are, your brain function goes down just a little bit and your gray matter is affected. And so in terms of mood, it's recommended by my doctors and stuff to get to a healthy weight. So I started putting on a lot of muscle because, of course, I don't want to lose weight in an unhealthy way, and I want to combat osteoporosis and things like that as I get older. So I've been pumping iron for the past year. Girl, I got some biceps. Check me out on Instagram. But I've been working on my brain through therapy, through my body, through fitness, through my diet, and doing that. And I feel like my spirit by trying to get back into drawing and journaling. So that's what a lot of this is. And I, of course, know that everyone can pause and read through things, but I would, of course, love if you didn't, because this feels like a lot, sharing in general. Real quick though, this spread is my favorite spread in probably the entire book. I don't know about you, but like as I go through my pages, there's definitely pages that just look much nicer to me than others, and this one scratches my brain. I love all of the vertical lines, I love all of the different colors, I love the sparkles, and I don't know if you can tell throughout the video, but my highlighter that I'm using here, there's three different brands of highlighters that I'm using, let's be real. But the ones that you see here that are a little bit more pastel, these are the Zebra Kira Rich glitter highlighters. You can get them off of Jet Pens, and they're so cute. The glitter doesn't come off and like flake off and rub off with the pages over time either. It like stays locked in, and if you love glitter, you will love these. And I think you can get them from like $7 on Amazon as well. But that plus the drink stickers, anyways, we have moved on. I digress. But back to the concept of sharing and all of that. It is hard for me as someone who keeps to themselves to try and share things. And that's honestly kind of why I've not really been on YouTube that much a lot. I beat myself up a lot. I think that's something that a lot of us do, but I just took it way too far into where I just didn't even want to show people who I was, I guess, because I tried to do that whole podcast thing to encourage myself to just talk and to get into a flow state consciousness and just share things, but that didn't work out. I was way too self-critical. But now I think I'm okay to share this because I have a new philosophy and I'm going to share my philosophy. It's the best philosophy. Everyone knows it. Sorry, me and my friends play video games, and at this point it's just it's a voice that we do. But I think it's fine to be embarrassed. If you embarrass yourself a little bit, the next thing that happens is going to be even less potential to be embarrassing, and that's growth as a person. You shouldn't be embarrassed to be who you are or to be who you want to be. And I feel embarrassed existing. Isn't that weird? Is that just like a woman thing, or is that like an introvert thing? I don't know. But I am just tired of it. And so I am really trying to make a concentrated effort to put myself more out there. I call like my little shorts that I do on TikTok and Instagram like my little mini humiliation rituals to myself, because like it's not anything bad to just be stupid a little bit, but man, does it feel wrong. I'm kind of a stick in the mud, if you can't tell, and it's so funny because my inner world is so vibrant, and if you get to know me, it really is so vibrant and so whimsical and so absurd. But I don't like that. I don't want to show people all of my absurd whimsy, because what if they got something to say and then they stomp on my whimsy? Mimsy, South Park reference. But I think it's important to try. I think it's important to just be yourself. And again, everyone says that to all children and things like that. They say you should never be afraid to be yourself. Just be yourself. You'll make friends if you just be yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've heard so many of those things, and I'm like, I hear it, and my brain says duh, but executing it is so much harder. And it's even funny for me to say that, because I know that the perception for people around me a lot of times is that I just am who I am and I don't care. And that's because I've tried really hard for that. Over the years, I kind of developed the outer shell to just allow myself to make fun of yourself before anyone else makes fun of you, and then it won't hurt that much, right? And so I'm kind of that person. And so I kind of don't let people know what might hurt me, but I'm also really, really sensitive, and so a lot of stuff could hurt me. So how about I just don't share who I am? You know, that sounds great. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. This year especially has been the year that I have really leaned on and relied on community, and something that is hard, I think, for a lot of people since COVID, but also just independent people in general, is having to lean on people and having to accept that community is sacrifice, and to have people that are willing to be there for you, you have to be willing to be there for them, and it is not convenient sometimes. But I really think that allowing people into your life whenever you're having a hard time is incredibly important, very beneficial. Yes, very hard, but something that you have to do sometimes. And if there's anything about growth, it is uncomfortable. And as we get to the very end of this book, I'm going to share a page with you that I kind of debated sharing or not. But I did a live drawing painting for myself, really. I was kind of freaking out at a funeral, and so I kind of drew where I saw everything happening from my seat in the funeral, and then painted it once I got home as a way to kind of process it. And it feels really private, but I'm going to share it anyways because it felt really beautiful and really meaningful. But yeah, we're going through the last of the pages, not because there's anything that I really use these for, but because I want to show you that it's so okay to kind of use the pages in the back and not fully utilize them. Anyways, that was the last 6 months of my life. Thank you so much for sharing it with me, and I hope that you have a really good one.